Jane? Jane? Hi, Jane. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. That slides, though, those are just the new ones I did for the end, the questionnaire.
Sounds good. Let me just, I don't have anybody else in the meeting yet, so let me just find the other one.
Perfect.
All right.
Thanks for grabbing those at the last second, too.
Of course, no problem. So, oh, no. Let me see here. I see. So this one, webinar. Okay, I'll quickly merge the two. And I think there is a way that you can take over the screen so you can slide through. I'm excited. This will be good.
Yeah, I'm excited, too. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you, too. All right, so I think that's everything. I've got it merged as one big document.
Okay, I can't control it yet.
Okay, I'm going to add you then as co-host. And then let's see, you should have the ability to take over. Let me just see how that works. So do you see a control panel up at the top or at the bottom of your screen?
At the top, yeah, view options.
Okay, so there should be an in there.
Okay, an icon that says what?
I'm just looking for what it might say. Remote control. Give mouse keyboard access to you. Does that work?
Yeah, click to start mouse keyboard control. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like it.
Awesome. Okay, so
it's still only showing me the short one, the questionnaire.
Oh, let me just see here. Okay, I'm going to move my mouse just a moment. Okay, let me just see.
Right back to the dog scratching on the door upstairs because he hears me up. So it's going to do it. Be back like 10 seconds. Oh,
What is it?
There we go. That's looking.
All right, sounds good. So,
although it's not letting me do it again.
You know what? Let me just. I think because I've taken control over, so I'll just admit everybody into the meeting, and then I'll hand you back the control. See if that works.
Oh, perfect.
All right, so I'm going to start from here. Awesome. All right. So I'm just letting everybody into the meeting. So were a few people in the waiting room. So we'll get started. I'm sure people will continue to join us. So Dr. Mike, welcome. Thank you for joining me today.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Always
hi, everybody.
Present. So
Hello.
Everybody is muted, and as I said, I will admit people as they join, but I will hand the reins over to you so that we can get started. So let me just give you the controls here and see if that works for you. I think you're muted. If you want to just unmute your mic.
Mute. How's that?
Perfect.
Although now I think, Jane, I have the control things to admit people and stuff like that.
Okay, let me see if there's a way that we can both do this so you're not having to do both things.
If not, you could do I know it's a pain, but you could do the slides if that's easier. I'll just say. switch slides. But hi, everybody. Hi, I see people entering.
All right, yeah, let's do that then. You know what? I will just keep the control then. So just let me know when you want me to cue the next slide.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out what happened here. Something happened where it's very like, I've only got like a sidebar now so I can hardly see my, maybe view options, view ratio, fit to window. Yeah, bizarrely made it really, it's just like a sidebar for me.
Okay,
Now it cut. Don't know why. Here, I'm gonna have to. It's on. Looks like I've still got some controls too, because it's letting me admit people. Okay. Wait a minute. There we go.
Good stuff.
See a couple hellos from people in the chat group. Let's maybe just try and switch a slide and see what happens. Go ahead, Jane.
All right.
Nazrin. There we go.
So do you see the greeting slide?
I see the greeting slide now, and I'm still getting the messages about people coming in, but that's fine. It looks like you can control that too. Yeah, I can't control the slides, but
yeah, so good morning, everybody. I will, yeah, definitely admit people as you guys are coming into the meeting, and I will be handing it over to Dr. Mike. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm super excited about this. So just ignore the notifications. I'll take care of that for you. And as I said, I'll switch slides for you as we move through the webinar.
hi, everybody. It's great to see everyone. Good morning. Go easy on me. It's I don't know how many people are sort of West Coast or East Coast, but it's 8 a.m. here, so I'm still trying to even figure out where I am. But thrilled to be here. I just noticed one other thing, Jane. The GIFs are not working.
Oh, there we go.
The animation. There we go. So we can see John's. Or just briefly working. That's all right. Let's continue on and see. Or yeah, maybe you have to click on them or something. But really happy to be here this morning, and I think that the timing, unfortunately, in my case, couldn't be better. Oh, I think someone has their mic on.
Yeah, I just turned them off.
Perfect. Hi, Mohammed. I just see Mohammed entered the. For me, depending on if you like whether or not, I don't know. I don't see me on the screen, so I don't know if you can see this, but it's like snowing. It's just stopped a little bit here, but we fully are. We are. If you go to the next slide, Jane.
Yeah.
I think I hexed myself because winter is here, and we had a little bit of snow a couple weeks ago, but it really just started snowing in earnest last night, and it's yeah, I don't think anyone's ready. Of course, I need to go buy a snow shovel.
Meanwhile, in Ontario, of all places, it's 20 degrees today, I believe.
Oh, 20 degrees and later in the day already as well. But so I'm really excited to come back and chat. I don't know if any of you were at it's unbelievable. It seems like another lifetime that we did the How to Survive Pandemic back in March. And I don't think anyone would have at the time, well, it's tough to know, but predict that we'd be here again in November. But nonetheless, hopefully I can talk to you about a few things today that'll be of interest and help everyone cope and feel like they're able to do their best in their life and at their work as well. So yes, winter is here, whether we like it or not. Okay, Jane, next slide, please. Okay, my goal today, and hey, I've actually, as bonus, there's not 18 Buster items, only for you, only today, 20 Winter Buster items. I'll have 10 of each, and we're gonna start off with some topics that look at creative self-care and ways that you can really be working on your own self-care and yourself. And then we will talk about some things that tie in more to your work performance. And I think I really want people to keep in mind, though, that these are directly related to each other. So working on A has direct relevance to B. And if you are being really creative and putting a lot of investment into your self-care and functioning, there is absolutely no question this can have a huge impact on your work performance as well. So keep that in mind. It's essentially, you know, really, I could almost put it as 20 winter buster items to provide sort of enhanced work performance and provide the best opportunity for you in your work. Okay, so next slide. We'll start off with the self-care strategies, and I call this section the from accepting your evolutionary self to watermelon, and don't worry, we'll get there. I realized I wanted to put a slide where it was like, oh, back in the spring and summer, and it didn't seem so difficult to maybe be coping with everything going on right now. And I realized it's kind of scary, and lucky the GIF doesn't work because they're like diving backward. I guess it's a little terrifying maybe for some, and actually including myself. I don't like heights, so it's not the greatest choice of picture, but I think for a number of people that I talk to, and of course, I'm also outside of the work I do at the university, I'm also a clinical psychologist. So I see people all the time and I'm talking to them about how they're doing. And there's been a real shift, I think, in terms of this feeling of ability to cope and how to cope as we transition from spring and summer into fall, and let's face it, winter. Okay, next slide. And so I think that we want to see those snowflakes. We can mirror, Jane, if you hit that. Ah, there we go, there we go. We've got worse weather now. We've got this transition into winter. And you know, you hear so much about the new normal, but I think what people need to keep in mind is that I like to call it the new simple, where things that are typically and traditionally have been very simple for us have become quite complicated. And so even something as before that we would take for granted, like going to shop for some groceries, I don't think people necessarily factor in just how complicated, potentially time consuming, the additional steps that are involved, the different strategies that might have to go on just to do things that used to be considered fairly basic standard types of daily functioning. So this really increases people's stress levels. And I think it's important to keep that in mind, that one of the reasons where, you know, if you're worried that you're feeling a bit more exhausted and a bit more run down than usual, at least you can feel confident that there's no concern that that is maybe something that is concerning independent of what's going on right now. A lot of people are feeling a lot more run down and kind of challenged, making working on things to do with self-care even more important. Okay, next slide. Okay, so first point, accept, and I say accept your evolutionary self. What's going on is fight or flight to a T. We're in a situation where people are being asked to be very hypervigilant about something, and that's natural. And in fact, at times it can be healthy to be in that mode for a stressor. The kicker here for people to think about is fight or flight is meant to be short term for a person, right? You get all jacked up in the short term. It's very adaptive. It's very good for functioning. It shouldn't be for months. It certainly should not be for 6+ months. And so again, while accepting that this is something natural and healthy, people are certainly, in fact, I just saw in the paper, well, it shows my age talking about the paper. I saw online as well an article in the Vancouver Sun talking about the levels of fatigue and pandemic fatigue in British Columbia. Another study showed 25% of people are feeling much less resistant now with this additional wave. And it's funny, it said that actually 38% of British Columbians were feeling particularly fatigued and very tired of following the protocols. Not as many as some of the other provinces, but it seems like that's gone up here as well. So people really are finding it difficult to maintain that kind of pace. But if you can accept that at its core, what's going on is natural, I think it can help. And we'll get into that a bit more too. But okay, next slide. Okay, one way you can do that, back there, And Jane, if you hit this one, it's so soothing. It's a very nice GIF. And I call this individual here, this is CKO, Chief Kindness Officer. If you are able to sort of accept what's going on right now as normal, and there's a lot of evidence coming out that you can actually reduce that fatigue even by a little bit if you really force yourself to focus less on some of the things that you can't do right now and that you're not able to do as well, and focus on a few of the things that you can. Just something very basic like that, where you really try and challenge yourself not to focus on those things that you maybe can't do right now. And also with self-compassion, anything you can be doing where you're being kinder to yourself and giving yourself a little extra, whatever it may be that you are sort of, if you can veer left or veer right in terms of making a decision that's going to be going a little bit easier on yourself. Right now, if there's ever been a time, is the time to really be engaging. You have to be your Chief Kindness Officer. You've all been promoted up to Chief Kindness Officer. Next slide. Point 2, don't take it personally. This goes for your day-to-day functioning. And of course, there we go. Some of the times if you're going to do a showing, you might be feeling like the individuals particularly, wanting space or concerned about COVID. And of course, many people's fears are all over some people feel that things are too much in place. Others feel they're not enough. But as a realtor, at times this can be a real dance. Even outside of that though, people's nerves and patience are thin. Oh, there, I just saw a message from Sal saying, cool, awesome, thank you. I've been encouraging people that I talk to and my clients, I would say on average, people are, and no excuse still not to be being civil with others and trying to do your best. People are about 30% less fresh right now. If you start to take personally, you will find yourself consistently disappointed, I think, right now. So another piece of advice that can help reduce your stress level is don't take it personally. Okay, next slide. Great news. Great news for all of you that are out there in Zoom land. Hi, Mac. Hi, James. Hi. I wish I could see all of you or be face to face. I really love it. But hey, it's great to be doing this Zoom as well. What I want to tell all of you you should all give yourself a pat on the back. You're actually ahead of the curve of many, many humans. And I'm seeing people all the time that some of these challenges that a realtor has to face head on when they start in the real estate business around your level of independence, potentially having irregular work hours, just time management in general, and being able to juggle all these type of skills. These are skills that don't come easy to a lot of people, and ones that some of you will have been working on you're ahead of the game. You will have been working on these things for much longer than others have. So this is something that when we look at these different things, that as you convey yourself to others, and when you're in doing real estate deals or doing any part of your job or your life, they can help you feel more confident. You basically just have to supersize previous skills that a lot of you would have been working on for a long time. So there's a little bit of a silver lining. Doom scrolling. This is becoming, and depending on, and I won't get into anyone's particular views, but there's lots of different things going on. There's the pandemic, there's the election down south. It seems like the opportunity online to be going down the rabbit hole has never been more profound. And we're starting to see this even in younger ages, where the amount that you're scrolling through, I don't know how many have heard this term before, doom scrolling, but please see if you can have some sort of strategy, whether it's setting an alarm on your clock or really committing to only a certain amount. Okay, you're going to check in about a certain topic, perhaps the pandemic. I'm going to see what's new, but make it 10 minutes. Don't make it 2 hours. And so this is something that's been demonstrated that people are like doubling down on there. If you're not feeling particularly good on any given day, It's natural to want to feel informed and get information, but the doom scrolling is shown to sort of double how badly you're feeling. And so this is something I think is really important to keep in mind. Next slide. And, you know, I felt embarrassed. I put this slide of how often people are on these different, I didn't look at it so closely. And then my son, hey, for kicks, I was going through these slides with my son, and he was like, Dad, this is super lame. That's not, you know, maybe just for his age range where they're not on, he's like, we're never on Facebook that much. We're on TikTok, like way more. This is an outdated slide. But there's no question the amount of time that people are going online, particularly right now, has become problematic even outside of doom scrolling. But I do encourage you to think of different strategies. One of the big ones, just a good old fashioned alarm that it's amazing. You think about how long would be reasonable for me to go onto my phone right now and kind of get up to date or look at things. And it's unbelievable how fast you can burn through that time and then double it, triple it. And it's nice to have, if you go to the next slide, I can thank my mother for this. She's thinking of getting a dog, and she sent me these cute dogs. It's nice to have something else that you can pivot to or you distract yourself with, where if you're really feeling like, oh, I've gone down the rabbit hole here on my phone, that can kind of be like a little blip or break, especially if you've sort of gotten into content or just mindless scrolling. Well, not that this doesn't count as mindless scrolling, but good mindless scrolling, and good to do some of it. I'm a little bit nerdy. I have a thing that where if I find like I'm heading down into doom scrolling territory, I have a word guru thing where I like to look up cool words that I don't know what they mean to see what they mean. Just a little bit of disclaimer. I know, a little nerdy. The problem was that yesterday's word was menacious, which then I'm like, oh, I don't really know what menacious is. And it's menacing or threatening, dangerous or worthy of fear. So it didn't really help like it should have. Okay, next we're on to number 5, and the chef from the Muppets. Creative ways to stay connected. This has become one of your major challenges in terms of self-care and functioning. And if you're like me, these Zooms, too many of them, especially meetings, I've certainly had my share of these Zooms. And if you're in a situation, depending on where you're living, where you're being asked to pretty much stay indoors and things are either semi-shut down or really shut down, unfortunately, and this goes for all of us, it's really important to keep a certain level of connection with each other. And I think most are feeling like they're not quite there right now. And so any kind of energy you can be putting into how you can be still feeling some level of connection while not losing your mind from yet another sort of just, standard Zoom party or talking to each other. One example that I read about recently that sounded really, hi Keegan, recently was that maybe get a whole bunch of you where you still do Zoom, but you do some sort of cooking party where you have the same kind of ingredients and food and wine. It was nice that they suggested that as well, some wine. And then you do a kind of cooking party or a cook-off where it just has a different, I think one way for you to think about it is, can you create some sort of social connection or staying connected where if one of your only options is Zoom, can you kind of one up the Zoom where you kind of forget that it's Zoom? And then you get back to where you're able to have it feel a little bit more less static than it might with a Zoom. Okay, next slide. Thanks, Jane. 6, proactive with that pretty. If we are going to have to some degree, batten down the hatches for winter, for fall, winter, and I don't think anyone's sure sort of what 2 months from now will look like. But if we can assume that your ability to be outside as much and be getting fresh air and sunshine and all those things that a bazillion studies at this point have shown us are so important for your well-being and self-care, I encourage each of you to be really proactive. And even in the next few days, if you can think of at least 1 or 2 things where you make your indoors a little bit more like outdoors, it can actually have a surprisingly large effect. Recent study that I was looking at from Cardiff University found that literally just having a plant or 2 in your workspace, on your desk, in some area that's maybe a little bit more barren, If it's green, which many plants will be, that's associated with positivity. And over, I think after a week, they found that it increased productivity. Who knows how they actually measured this, by as much as 15%, and enhanced focus and a person's perceived quality of the air and their environment. So something very small, very cheap. If there's ways you can bring the indoors into you, great. If there's still times where it is a bit of a nicer day and you can get outside, won't be here today, unless you're really into winter, do that as well. But the alternative would be proactive while you're battening down the hatches, and something as basic as a plant can directly tie into your performance. Okay, next slide. Thanks, Jane. Worry less. Yes, I like to bring only the premium product for all of you. This is literally a hot, I like to tell with my students, do a hot off the press. The New York, it was either the New York Times or the New Yorker, had a huge article, which I'm happy to find and share with everybody, about everyone's anxieties right now, and a few very basic, simple ways that we can be working on that. If you don't do it yet, I know it sounds cliched, but carve out a particular time. It's very difficult to do it first, but within about a week, you should be getting better at it, where you really commit to certain, and some of you are probably thinking, whoa, 10 minutes is not enough for me to write down all my worries. Just a rough estimate. If there's a specific time that you can have a worry journal and actually write down your worries. A recent study, they did this with students, and they performed significantly better on a test if for just 10 minutes they wrote down some of their worries in a journal. So it doesn't take much. Maybe pick one fear and just work on that. Pick one fear and think if there's one thing you can do to work on it. A lot of people right now, you hear people wondering, well, what if they don't this? What if a vaccine, they don't find it, it doesn't work? You find yourself worrying about things down the line, really encourage yourself to think if you can do one step at a time, it can be very helpful. I'm gonna take a quick coffee break here. I can feel I need a sip of coffee. By the way, we'll do, I forgot to tell you, I will do a quick fun game show questions at the end to see who can be the quickest at response. Maybe we'll do, and maybe there's a way we can see, engage it. So I will have 10 questions based on these slides for those people who are particularly paying attention. Any questions so far? Actually, we'll do a question period at the end, of course, but any comments or questions right now while get a little coffee break?
I think people are mostly just saying hello to you. It's nice to see you. These slides are always engaging and entertaining. So yeah, hello everybody. If you guys have questions, feel free to chime in.
Sure, and we'll do full question period at the end. Box breathing. If you want a really basic, so easy, anybody can do it in literally 16 seconds. Box breathing is great. I'm not the hugest fan of all these types of different breathing exercises, ironically, considering what I do for a living, but I really like box breathing. It's literally when you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, release for 4 seconds, and then wait 4 seconds before you take another breath. And this can be really helpful to lower your blood pressure, improve focus, and you can double down if you want and have something like this great offer accepted. Be staring at something that's really ambitious, really positive as you do box breathing. Last thing I want to say, don't do that. For those of you who run out and get a journal, and by the way, it's way better to write it than to do it on a computer or text. About 5 studies have come out in the last year that have shown actually still doing pen to paper is far more effective in terms of retaining the information, processing it, really connecting with it. It's really good to actually do pen to paper. If you go out and get that journal and do commit to a certain time for a worry journal, not last thing at night. There's some debate about this, but most are thinking, no, you don't want to be doing that last thing at night for obvious reasons. That's right, Keegan, journal every morning. That way your mind is clear for the day. It really can work. And I actually come to that. Stole my thunder, Keegan, in the second half when we talk more about productivity and work performance. I sort of bring that up. So thank you. And hopefully some of you, box breathing, do that a few rounds. I love it. Okay, next slide. Oh, there we go. Look at this. I managed to combine yoga, and I found an actual yoga where we can segue into wine. So everything will really be okay. Another study that just came out linked yoga and a particular type of yoga I'm not that familiar with called hatha yoga, I believe. This idea of divergent thinking is really cool. It's how people generate different solutions or as many possible solutions to an issue as possible, which I think in real estate and trying to figure out the needs and the wants of both sides, and we'll get more into that too in the second half. I think this particular skill of divergent thinking is a really cool one for realtors to be working on. Don't worry, if you're really not into yoga, there's other ways to do this outside of yoga. But this study found that if you do just 20 minutes of this hatha yoga, over time, that starts to improve a person's ability to engage in divergent thinking. And you know, the reason I had this in this first half rather than the second half, and you'll remember how I said a lot of these things link with each other, is that divergent thinking also helps a person perhaps think of various clever ways to be adaptable and to adapt. And I mean, that's important for your work as well, but it's also important for the times we're currently living in. Adaptability would have to be one of the top 3 skill sets that if a person can have that in terms of adapting and creating new routines and stuff like that, you're hopping. So there you go. I was thrilled to be able to have yoga and a bottle of wine on the same slide and have it make sense. Oh, if you click the GIF, by the way, I looked up to say, because I'm like, what is this hatha yoga? I was kind of scared it might be a really strange type of yoga and that people would be like, why is he recommending this to us? Apparently this is one, I can do that. If that's going to get me adapting better and divergent thinking, I don't know about doing just that for 20 minutes, but when I looked up GIFs or images of hatha yoging, I got this one. So there you go. Looks like all of us can do it. Okay, unplug. You've probably been hearing this, but it is, this was a Condé Nast article that I looked up about different ways and how important it is to sort of be unplugging and disconnecting. And I don't know, they put that house or building, it kind of scared me. Maybe it's my line of work because I do mostly criminal psychology, but I felt like that was more like, I don't think I'd want to go there. I don't know what goes on in there, but I don't like it. So definitely pick different place in your own mind. But if you have any ability to, even for half a day or even for half an hour, and of course, for some, it might be very difficult to be getting away in anything more conceptually than that. But, and I know this is particularly challenging for realtors. And a couple of my friends actually that I play squash with that are realtors, just in the last few days, I've been talking with them about them trying to manage their ability to unplug at any given time. Please, if you can, take some time, even if it's only a few minutes, to feel like you're totally unplugging and disconnecting in terms of all phones, in terms of all, and ideally, yes, you would be planning something where you could be away for, say, a whole day and out in nature and away. It can make a world of difference. You can come back twice feeling twice as good. And if you don't have the luxury or time or ability to do that right now, then think of other ways that you can be approximating that. But this would be like top 3, finding some clever way to be unplugging and disconnecting. Very, very, very important right now for all of us. Okay. And don't worry, no animals were hurt in the making of this slideshow. That bear is just fine. They've just been sedated to, I think, the wildlife sort of helping them in their habitat. I tried to unplug this summer and went on a hike with my son and some other individuals up in Jasper and Banff area. And we went way back country and it was amazing. However, I thought it'll be so great and our phones don't even work then. I literally, the day before I left, somehow I stupidly was like, oh, yeah, I heard sometimes there's grizzly bears back there. And I came across, look at that. That is like one of his there's no hope. Long story short, ended up spending like almost an entire night awake the first night in the tent with this image in my mind. My unplugged backfired grotesquely, where I just could not get over, like, if by chance, where they sometimes happen to apparently come by, if I were to meet up with this grizzly bear, I didn't think it would end well. So keep that. Oh, I see. Oh boy. I mean, I'd play with you if you're ever in Kelowna, or if I'm ever wherever you are. I would love to play. I'm a bit of a squash addict. In fact, I'll be going to squash if I can drive my vehicle there later today as well. All right, next slide. Basics. Yeah, I walked right into it because I've talked in other talks that I've given about all these basics that you have to fall back on in terms of getting enough sleep would be one of the big ones, enough exercise. And I've provided foods in the past that were good in terms of dopamine. And so I wanted to find something fresh and different for this talk. And I came across, yes, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan, but if you like watermelon, you are in luck. Watermelon is an aphrodisiac, and it contains something called phytonutrient that helps to relax your blood vessels. Apparently it works very similar to Viagra. And so this is what I thought, that's my gift for everyone. If you are thinking about the basics of eating well and sleeping and exercise, watermelon is a food that I recommend. It's an aphrodisiac. I walked right into some unpleasantness. I put in, I wanted to find a funny gift, so I put in, watermelon, aphrodisiac, watermelon section. It didn't go well. I panicked and pivot to this very strange gift. Okay, so there you go. There is a whole bunch of things for you to be thinking about in terms of self-care. And now we'll move on to innovative work performance techniques. And I like to call this section, now it makes sense to you, the last section, going from accepting your evolutionary self to watermelon. This time, we're going to stick with the food theme. We're going to go from innovation to carrots. Okay, next slide. Been reading a number of articles lately that, I mean, in some ways, there's never been a better time to be in real estate or to be a realtor. I can't think of the last time, when you think about these 5 W's in terms of who, what, where, when, and why, and individuals as the pandemic goes on, needing some assistance and guidance and wanting a connection with someone that could advise them on things around all these things that people are considering in terms of, does this space that I'm living in really work in? Does this space really work if we're going to maybe have an in-law or another family member move in so that, we can see them at least once in a blue moon? All of these things that, yes, they can cause a lot of stress. Those agents that are prepared to be innovative, think outside the box, be really clever about how they're forming connections and going about being a realtor, the current times will disproportionately benefit you. Feel like I'm somewhat preaching to the converted here, because I'm guessing the people that attend this, don't know what do you want to call it, it's not really a workshop, but our chat today, I feel like you are likely in that category of people and that you'd be ahead of the curve. So again, a pat on the back. Anything to, being creative around, perhaps another way that you can create a link with people is to be, now that things are a little bit more compromised about dining out, sending out a variety of, really doing some sleuthing around takeout, restaurants that are doing great takeout options, and just simply providing a list of that to people. And of course, the final frontier right now that I'm guessing there's a lot of pressures or thoughts about is if you can be tech savvy in terms of videos and other things to supplement the face-to-face stuff, right? Without it sort of eliminating the need for the face-to-face. If you can incorporate really good video and tech, also major kudos and major opportunities there. So I encourage all of you, If you're like me and you can't stand, I was forced because I can't stand watching myself on the video, my voice, everything. I can't stand it, but I have to lecture now to students and all of it has to be video. And so trial by fire, I was forced, and it does get better. So people are finding it difficult to make that. You just got to keep going at it and creating more and more videos and working on it and just try and have fun with it. Okay, next slide. Yes, sorry, just block out his shirt. This is how a lot of people are feeling. Their house is their only place that they can kind of control. There's the coronavirus. This is good. It has a happy ending, everybody. People are really feeling like, you know, the house is not only their sanctuary, but a ton of stress. So let's see him before he says, let's see him bash this coronavirus again. It's going to be really healthy for all of us. Boom. Okay. Next slide. Brand new study again. I literally just read this one. 2020 home buyers twice as likely to feel as anxiety in the past. And while people did have other reasons outside of financial gain to be buying a house between 15 and 19, fair to say largely motivated, or some people largely motivated. Many people now are needing to move for a variety of reasons. Some are being proactive. Others are having really stressful, dire things happen where they're being forced to move. 77% home buyers, 71 home sellers fighting with loved ones during the home buying process. There has never been a time that I'm aware of, or at least that where I've been around, where being able to really check in with people, and as a realtor, I've talked about this before, and actually you can go to the next slide, please, Jane. Thanks. There has never been a time where we have not been more similar, where realtors have not had to be going into the role of essentially clinician with their clients. Those realtors that are able to effectively do that and actually have their clients feel like their voice is being heard, they're being understood, are going to be ahead of the pack. There is no question. Any time that you can be putting into this idea of, we call it emotional intelligence, right? Leveraging this in a way that it increases your productivity and your sales. It's directly related to empathy, and it can have a huge ability. Some would say it's a crucial element for challenging times like this. So if you're, you know, your ability to empathize, or how much you're sort of putting into that as it comes to forging your relationships, is not where it should be, during these particular times, you're going to suffer, because people need that right now so badly. And if, as a realtor, you can fulfill that for them, that's huge. Even in terms of listening, the amount of time people actually spend listening to others now has been increasingly decreasing. So people that have that as a focus, where they're really meeting the needs of their clients, are going to be ahead of the pack. So I really encourage everyone on that one. Okay, next slide. Even if you're the best therapist in the world, and I have this happen all the time, sometimes people are really anxious, they're really angry, things didn't go as they were hoping with an offer, things have just gone off the rails. One really easy strategy that I don't tell my patients, sometimes use in there with them, or they wouldn't care, they'd be happy I got them less angry. Let a person for approximately 20 to 30 seconds kind of guesstimate as they're venting, talking about something. And then if you want a less obvious type of reset or redirect, where they don't really feel like you've overtly done that to them, you just do something called a pattern interrupt, and say something like, oh, if you just give me a second, I want to, you know, I hear you, and I want to be able to write down some of your concerns you have about how the other, you know, prospective buyer wasn't forthcoming, or whatever it might be. Actually take out your phone, go to the notes, do something where you do a pattern interrupt on the person. You'll find in many cases it can help you in terms of navigating, talking with the person, and lower their overall anger or anxiety level. So that's just one suggestion. Next slide. Communicate back to, in terms of that idea of people wanting to be heard right now. And these are things that all good realtors are doing anyway, where they're trying to create these links and a relationship and asking questions for the person about family, jobs, hobbies, interests, future ambitions. Right now, there's that, concerns and anxieties. And of course, you don't want it to turn into some major therapy session, but if you're able to have a person feel like their voice is being heard with you, I encourage you, I would say, communicate whatever you're communicating right now. If you want to think of a way to increase sort of productivity and sales, communicate double. Whatever you're doing, do it double. So that would be another recommendation from a communication standpoint. And next slide. You know what? I apologize, and I encourage all of you to go online and maybe look into this a bit more. That's not the best example of a Duchenne smile. There should be way more sort of like what we call crow's nests. Should be more wrinkling around. That's a very sanitized Duchenne's smile. Body language, as we know, nonverbal plus tone, it's about 90%. And forming that emotional connection with the client is such a huge part of the battle. And if they're not being able to gauge that with you, or you're not being able to form that, that's a problem. And of course, right now, Duchenne smile, what's the problem with my slide? Well, a lot of the time we're having to wear these masks. And so keeping in mind, and I know different places have different sort of, whether or not you have to wear a mask during a showing, or how often you do or don't, or how comfortable each particular person is. I've been helping my mother look at houses. We're wearing gloves here now as well. I don't know if that's common other places, but you have to be even more self-aware of how you're holding your body, how open you're seeming. People can't tell a lot of the time when you have the mask on. So if you go to the next slide, and you can tell a little bit here based on sort of the eyebrows. And of course, if you're doing a real genuine Duchenne smile, people can tell a little bit more even with the mask on. But whenever you have an opportunity, if you're doing a showing and you come out afterwards and say your car's right there, and a lot of people now are just kind of keeping their masks on and off they go, look for little opportunities. If you're social distance and you're far enough away, actually take off your mask, or make sure you're conveying enough with your body and your tone. Elevator rides, I don't know about any of you, but I'm on the 15th floor of this landmark building to get up to where I do therapy. And I just dread the elevator. Only 3 people allowed in there, so at a time. And you have to stand in this certain formation and face the front. And I always make sure right away to say, oh, hello, and kind of stand in a way where it's tough. Our instinctual brains almost with the mask kind of want to go somewhere it doesn't need to and cause stress. And you can feel the stress sometimes in the elevator, much different than when you don't have the mask on. So that's a big one to keep in mind as well. Next slide. I'm just noticing the time here, so I want to make sure we. You want to reduce the stress of your clients and have them more inclined to be thinking straight about actually deciding on a deal and having things go well. Be doing more research. I know this sounds cliched coming from a professor, but really knowledge is power. If you can be finding out stuff about the current state of affairs and market, and you can be conveying this to help assuage some of the concerns of your clients, that's really going to go far away from you. So normalize their stress by educating yourself. I read a recent stat, if someone's feeling frustrated as a 23-year-old that they have to move back in and their parents are your clients, and you're building up relationships with them, 12% less are living on their own and having to move back in. Things that might help a person feel a little bit better, where they'll be like, oh, wow, that realtor really knows what they're talking about. They're up on their knowledge. This can help to normalize their stress. Next slide, please, Jane. Okay, weak ties. I know this is stuff that is more been pounded in your head than you probably need me telling you, but right now more than ever. And you can also call these low stakes friendships. I'd encourage you during these times, if you can think of ways, maybe have a goal, at least 2 more per week or whatever number. Hey, maybe you're like, man, I can make 10 more. Neighbors, gym, even if it's online, barista, coffee shop. By the way, if you play that GIF, Jane, it's, if you click on that, okay, so this was like, I put in coffee shop. In the background, I noticed there's some like fairly, not even sure what's going on, but if you want to upsize this, anything you can be doing in terms of community involvement and connecting people to different resources, of course, can help you connect these ties. And then the great news is, going back to part one of this presentation, human connection improves your own immune system and is so beneficial. Okay, so make it a goal to create more weak ties. Focus right now. It's estimated it takes about 23 minutes to refocus if you lose your focus and really get back into something. We're approaching goldfish territory, if not worse than goldfish right now in terms of our attention span. Getting back to the point that Keegan made, if you can each morning write down 3 to 5 main goals, and then at least one habit or routine that can help you achieve at least one of those goals, it's a great way to start your day. And again, do pen and paper. Our brains are craving more routines right now. And so anything you can be doing along those lines. And then each night, write down accomplishments and positives to sort of send yourself off in the best possible mode for sleep. And next slide. And by the way, I had a goal, my goal, the carrot part. Have a carrot for if you make some big accomplishment, actually have a big carrot that you're heading towards. I was kind of embarrassed because I showed my wife this and I said, oh, I want that to be my office. You know, I want to be able to go somewhere again, you know, like in Costa Rica or somewhere, and have that be my office and look out over the, and she said, well, you idiot, that's a bathroom. Look at, I mean, how obvious, there's 2 sinks, there's a, whatever, I'll take it. If I can end up getting some goals accomplished and end up, once things open up again, and go there as a sort of big carrot to be working towards, I'll take it. I really, really want to go there. I actually have a goal to get there. Maybe there's a different office area as well. Okay, next slide. Always be honing negotiation skills. I encourage you, everyone, at least one new negotiation skill a week. Be looking up different books, different articles online. See if you can't be adding to your repertoire of negotiation skills each week. We all know how good it feels to get an offer accepted. And my hot tip for this week, one, I've talked in the past about reciprocity and confirmation bias and a variety of other skills that I'm happy to go over again in the future. But I love the idea of an odd or unusual number as a counter offer. And I've seen real evidence of this being very effective. Whatever offer comes on the table, your response offer is a very odd or unusual number. This, even if the person knows you're doing it to them, it at a sort of instinctual level has them feel like you've put extra thought and time into that offer, and it's more difficult for them to give a different offer that's way, way higher or way less, depending on which side you're on. So think about, rather than whatever a standard kind of, give a very unusual number, an odd or unusual number as your counter offer. Please try it. See, I'm fairly confident you can have great benefit with it. Okay, and next slide. Thanks, everybody. By the way, I did a manual back in March. I'm thinking that if there's an interest, I can update that manual, or it should be available. It gives a little bit more details and things that I talked about before. Jane, are these things an hour, or do we have, what do we got for time?
Yeah, so we have 10 more minutes, but yeah, that would be great if you had the pandemic manual. I remember your presentation from March. I would love to be able to share that. We have a workplace group that it would be really easy to share with everybody. So if you have that available, that'd be great.
Cool, and I might talk and see if there's an interest in doing a sort of an updated one as well. Let's try and really quickly go through the game. If you just answer right away, and by the way, that's from last time, but I still feel like that sometimes. What day is it? Let's do the game for should take 3 minutes, and then have a time for at least a few questions. So if you know the answer, just put it, I guess, in the group chat. The first person that puts it gets it. Are they in here next?
So drop it in the chat, guys. What day is it?
Oh, no, not the what day it is. Geez. If you go to, you know what? I had to pause for a second. Okay, so next slide, Jane. Who wants to be a realtor extraordinaire? Everybody ready? I have these little prize toy things that I sometimes give out. Whoever, you get the kudos of winning here if you happen to get more. Let's just get right into it. As soon as you know the answer, type it in. No, next question. Our first question, fight or flight, meant to be short-term, not months. What percentage feel less resilient in second wave?
Drop it in the chat, guys.
Who remembers? Nobody. That's all right. It was. It's okay. There's 9 more questions. 25% feeling less resilient. I'm thinking some people weren't maybe there at the very beginning.
Here we go.
You know what? You get it, Mosen. We'll take your 30. You win. It was 25, but you're the closest. All right, let's keep going. Who is this? What did I call that person? All of you are going to be becoming this. Chief Kindness Offer. There you go, Jane Pearson. Hey, Anders. Okay. Came in slightly late. We're going to give it to Jane. Next question. What's one thing you can do to worry less? Any of my suggestions? Low-hanging fruit. Come on. Who's going to get it? Who's going to get the point? Keegan, you just beat Jane, I think, like just beat her, because then Jane would have been in the lead. Accept the reality, box breath. Yeah, closing more deals. Yes, that's right. I mean, very good. Okay, next question. One thing at a time. Wine. There you go, Keegan. I hear you. Okay, what kind of yoga? Easy one, just a pure memory one. What type of yoga is getting you there with divergent thinking? Hatha. X. Keegan. Jane. Oh, Hatha from Denise. I don't know what that means. Or maybe you're with someone, Jane, that's named Denise, and that's their answer. That's nice of you to give them the credit. Could have taken it. It would have added your points too. Okay. There we go. Basics. What does watermelon do for you? Put this one however you want. What's the benefit of watermelon? Cool. Yeah, watermelon is cool. That's true. Aphrodisiac. There we go. Similar to Viagra. Next question. Relaxes blood vessels. All right. Keep going.
Sorry, next slide.
Next slide again. Okay, speaking of stress, one of the main characteristics that's important, what's one of the main characteristics as a realtor you can be working on or you could have to thinking about all the stress of people right now? As a realtor, what's one of the top characteristics that could tie into your ability to be effectively working with your clients right now? Anyone? It's a whole point here for somebody. Empathy. Jane again with the win. Next question. So empathy, emotional intelligence, but I'll take empathy. What's it called? If you want to take notes on your phone as some of your main points, as you use that as a strategy with your client, what are you doing? What's that called? Come on, somebody. Interrupt. Mac with the win. 9. 2 more to go. Body language. Oh, it was the Duchesne smile. That's all right. That's all right. We'll go on to 10. Here we go. Here's the last question. Make more weak ties. What's one other that I didn't list that would be an effective group or person? Wow, you can really see that. What's going on in that? What's one other person, group of people? Clever strategy of how you can make a weak tie. I think we did, Jim. Mac, I think we did, Jim. Something else. Hairdresser. And you know what? I think religious places, great. I think Jane, you win. Although unless I wasn't sure if Jane's with somebody else where some of those answers might be them. So it could get controversial. There you go. Again, I can't see me, so hopefully you can see this. This is the prize, Dunny. I can't give you this, but it gives good luck. So congratulations, and you get this good luck, Jane. This really will help. And you get bragging rights. And congrats to everybody. Sorry, I know we're really tight on time. Any particular question I can answer though at this point? In the dwindling minutes?
That was so awesome. Thank you. I love that fire round of questions at the end. That was a lot of fun.
You know what? For next time, I'm going to figure. Well, thank you, Mosin. I really, it was really fun to do this today. For next time, I'm going to figure out what are they called? Cahoots. I do them when we do in-person ones, where you go online and actually do it a time thing. I wasn't sure how that would work with the Zoom, but I'm going to figure it out so that next time we do something, we'll do a full-on game show Cahoots and do a even more dialed down. Who wants to be a realtor?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you doing this again. And yes, if you can send us your pandemic manual, I will definitely share it with everybody. And hopefully we do this again soon and we all have good stories to tell.
Yeah, good luck out there, everyone. Take care. I know you can do it. And all the best.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks again.
Thanks. Take care.
Have a great